Just quickly want to discuss with you about Texas. So Texas constantly comes up. I mean, obviously we've heard about Texas since we were kids in Western movies and what have you, but Texas seems to be the place that the exodus out of California, people are moving to Texas. Joe Rogan he's a big podcast fellow, very, very famous. He's literally moved his recording studio to Texas. You have Elon Musk moving to Texas with his factories in Texas. You have many other people moving to Texas because of.
We want to move to Texas.
We want to move to Texas. That's something.
Yeah, I love it.
We'll definitely be not fully moved there, but definitely have because all our investments are in the U.S. We want to have a place in the U.S. Also, possibly apply for the U.S. green cards in the future. So we want to have a home in the U.S. as well.
That's awesome.
But tell us about Texas. Other than obviously you're originally from Texas. You've also switched cities in Texas, if I heard on one of the podcasts earlier. So tell us about what is it about Texas? Why are people choosing Texas? Now, a couple of things I got to say is, country of Canada is a huge natural resources country, second largest country in the world, 40 million population. The state of Texas alone has a larger economy than the whole country of Canada. So that tells you about how much money exists in this state. So tell us, other than just the economics of it, and please touch on that as well. What is it about Texas that it's the great new place to be, and people are kind of flocking to the state?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many good things about Texas. So
is
I love it.
Whataburger on your top 10 list? Whataburger. Oh, there you go.
There's my Whataburger cup. So why Whataburger? I'm like, yes. Why Texas? There's one of the reasons.
Awesome.
You have to go by if you check one out. So I'll tell you this. I'll start at just forget about real estate, economics, market part of it for a second. Sunny a lot of times. It's a little hot during the summer, but we don't have extreme cold. I'm thinking of Central to South Texas. Like it may snow every couple of every 5 to 10 years it snows in San Antonio or South Texas. And it's not an everyday thing. It's not for a long period and it barely stays on the ground. And it's warm, sunny, like the climate is amazing. And there's, they say Texas is a whole other country because, within a couple hours you can go to the beach, couple coast. You can go to a nice natural lake. You can go, to the rolling prairies. You can literally ride a horse. It's kind of funny. You can ride a horse. You can get your cowboy on. And then you can go to the city, in a 45-minute drive, one or the other. So, people have that perception. I loved it. Whenever somebody asks, hey, what's up in Texas? You ride your horse to school and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I didn't, but I know some friends that did. And so it can happen that way, right? But the economic part of it, the market factors, the population, we've had a consistent population growth year over year trend to Texas. And if you look at the underwriting, some investments, multifamily specifically, or commercial real estate in multifamily, I'm looking for the largest population growth, because what happens is with more renters, that means you have higher demand, and where there's higher demand and a lower supply, well, prices go up. And that's what I want to be on. I want to be on the high demand side and have a product that delivers. So that's really what's happening every year. What drives population? Typically what drives population is job growth. So the more jobs that are there in a, either market, submarket, city, neighborhood, whatever, you're going to have more population growth. People come find jobs. The cost of living is lower than some of our, some of the east and west urban core cities. So my first house was $116,000. It was a 1,600 square foot house. So nice, modest, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it was 116 grand. And I put down $3K to buy it. So it was a nice house. It was less than 8-9 years old. So it was nice, new. And, this was an amazing piece of real estate that, $116,000 somewhere else would be get you that rundown shack out the back. I was no, I had a nice new house. So, now that the real estate is very favorable, it's a lower average median price for that house. Even in some of the bigger cities, Well, I'm in San Antonio now, probably average, I don't even know the average house cost, but it's probably mid twos. Austin is high threes, and Dallas is probably the same, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, those median house prices are still very affordable for a lot of people. Their dollar goes very far. We're becoming a big tech hub. I just saw something that, a report that said Dallas DFW is like out Silicon Valley. It's become a better known tech hub than Silicon Valley. And then also it's like, more desirable than Manhattan, which was the number 1 rated investment spot. And I swim in the central of South Texas area. So San Antonio is the majority of the 800 doors that we're in. We just pulled the trigger on the McAllen property, so 3.5 hours south of San Antonio.
I've been to McAllen.
Okay, yeah, the Rio Grande Valley.
The Rio Grande.
They call it
yeah.
RGV for short. If you don't know Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and you're like supported by the South Texas part, which is crazy. So NAFTA, the old NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement with our countries, which is awesome, is now the US Mexico Canada Agreement, so USMCA, and that literally defines the trade between us, US, Mexico, and Canada. And there's like $300 billion going this way, $200 billion going that way, and another $150 billion going in all 3 directions. And it kind of meets at our border, Texas, Mexico, Canada, in the south area. So when it comes to that, all that trade goes through South Texas, and that's where Rio Grande Valley. So those market mechanics may be different. It's not a primary city, it's not a secondary, it's like a tertiary market. But why does it work? Because we know the city's not going anywhere. On all the little bitty cities are not going anywhere because it's supported by billions of dollars of trade that happens in between there. So you've got really great tech hubs. You've got supported by these big international agreements, trade agreements. You've got a good cost of living. The real estate, you can buy a lot of it for, lower dollar than some of the other cities, and your money just, it just goes right. And we've had like in San Antonio, I'll talk about specifically, it's the growth is not, there's been no huge spike over 20 years. I don't think the growth has ever been over 2 to 3% in appreciation growth for real estate. And I don't think it's ever dropped below like 1 or 2. It's been a consistent number, just slow, little bitty rise, but every single year consistent and like clockwork. So, during the 2008 Great Recession, we didn't see a dip in values. We just saw less growth. And instead of 2%, it went to 1% or nothing. It just didn't have the drop. And then when it came back, it went back up to 2, and it's just been trucking along. And so that's typically, Texas, all those, and then the landlord rights, like our favorable political, I don't know, whatever you call it, the laws that are in place to protect landlords as opposed to renters. They're more fair than like a California or New York or Seattle, Washington, places
or
like
Vancouver.
that. Or Vancouver. Vancouver's the same.